Ah, Tinder, that magical app where you swipe right and, with a little luck, find someone who isn't a serial killer or trying to sell you Herbalife. My journey through this universe of possibilities and disappointments led me to meet Raphael. He had a super interesting profile, with photos that looked straight out of a travel magazine, always smiling next to adorable dogs and breathtaking landscapes. His bio was a modern poem, full of references to books and movies that I loved. And to top it all off, he seemed to have a sharp sense of humor, the kind that makes you laugh alone while reading messages on the bus. We talked for days on end, and the connection was palpable. Message exchanges that stretched into the early hours, audio clips full of laughter, and even a few video calls that made me feel as if I had known him for years. With every conversation, I found myself more enchanted, and the image of a future together began to form in my mind. I was already imagining us choosing the paint color for our apartment walls, debating which dog breed we would adopt first, and planning trips to the exotic places he loved to photograph so much. The expectation was gigantic, almost tangible. I was floating in a bubble of romantic optimism. Finally, after much conversation and virtual flirting, we scheduled the long-awaited first date. He suggested a cool bar, one of those with signature cocktails, dim lighting, and ambient music that invites you to whisper secrets. It was the perfect setting for a first date, I thought. A place that exuded sophistication and promised a memorable night. I prepared with great care, choosing a flawless white dress that made me feel light and confident. I wanted to convey an image of peace, of someone who was there to enjoy good company and a pleasant conversation. Little did I know that peace would be the first thing to be stained that night. I arrived at the bar a few minutes early, my heart beating a little faster than normal. Raphael was already there, sitting at a corner table, exactly as in his profile pictures, charming with a welcoming smile. He stood up to greet me, and the first impression was good. But right in the first few minutes of conversation, the Tinder magic began to unravel, like a sandcastle on the beach. The fun, eloquent Raphael from the messages gave way to a super nervous human being who could barely maintain a fluid conversation. The chat didn't flow, the sentences came out truncated, and the silences were awkward, filled only by the clinking of glasses and the distant murmur of the other tables. I wondered if I had dialed the wrong number, if there was some mistake, or if the Tinder algorithm had played a monumental trick on me. He was sweating cold, stammering while trying to formulate a sentence, and avoiding eye contact. I tried everything to break the ice, bringing up topics about his dogs, his travels, the books he had mentioned, but it was like trying to light a fire with wet wood. The flame simply wouldn't catch. With every attempt of mine, he responded with monosyllables or short phrases that left no room for depth. Disappointment began to settle in, heavy and silent, like a rain cloud on a sunny day. Where was the witty, confident man I had met virtually? He seemed to have been replaced by an anxious, uncomfortable doppelganger. And then came the climax, the turning point that would transform the date into an anecdote for life. He, in a desperate attempt to disguise his nervousness, ordered a Bloody Mary. I, on the other hand, opted for a lighter drink, a gin and tonic, hoping the drink would help relax the atmosphere. The waiter brought the drinks, and Raphael, with impressive dexterity, or perhaps the total lack thereof, managed to knock over the entire glass of Bloody Mary. And not just anywhere. It was on me. Yes, on me, who was wearing white, impeccably dressed for the occasion. In a matter of seconds, I, the personification of peace and elegance, became the Bloody Mary itself. My outfit was completely soaked in tomato juice, vodka, and that unmistakable smell of Worcestershire sauce. I looked like I had just stepped out of a crime scene, with red stains spread all over the dress, and not from a cool bar. The contrast between my white dress and the vibrant red of the drink was as shocking as the situation itself. I was in shock, paralyzed, feeling the cold, sticky liquid run down my skin. Raphael turned red, redder than the Bloody Mary he had spilled. He apologized 1,000 times, his voice choked with embarrassment. I, trying to be understanding and not turn the situation into an even bigger drama, said it was okay, that accidents happen. But inside, I just wanted to go home, take a disinfectant shower, and forget that moment. The smell of Bloody Mary, believe me, is not the most pleasant. And the feeling of being all sticky and stained in a busy bar was indescribable. The secondhand embarrassment and my own shame mixed in an avalanche of emotions. I felt like the protagonist of a slapstick comedy, but without the funny part. Even after turning into a walking cocktail, Raphael, with a nerve I had never seen before and which bordered on the unbelievable, dropped the magic phrase that would echo in my mind for a long time. "Since you're all wet, why don't we go to my place to watch a movie?" I swear I thought about laughing, but the shock and indignation were greater. The only thing I managed to reply, with a slightly trembling voice, was an, "I don't think so, Raphael. I need to go home and clean up." And so, the Bloody Mary date came to an abrupt end, without any trace of romance. There was no kiss, no promise of a second date, just a persistent smell of tomato and the certainty that that night would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. He still tried to argue, but I was already decided. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and, with the greatest dignity I could muster, said goodbye. The walk to the bar exit, with the stained dress and the smell of Bloody Mary following me, was one of the longest of my life. I could feel the curious and amused glances of the other people, and I just wanted to disappear. That night, I learned that online chemistry doesn't always translate into offline chemistry. People can be completely different in real life than they appear to be on social media, and you have to be prepared for that reality. I also learned that sometimes the universe gives you a very clear sign, or rather a Bloody Mary bath, for you to realize that he is not your match. It's as if destiny was telling me, "Wake up, girl, this is not your Prince Charming." But most importantly, I learned that no matter how disastrous a date can be, it always makes for a good story. A story that can be told with a smile and a touch of humor, turning shame into fun. And that, perhaps, wearing white on a first date is not the best idea, especially if you're going to meet someone with the dexterity of an elephant in a china shop. After all, life is full of surprises, and some of them come in the form of Worcestershire sauce. And yes, I dodged another one. And I gained a fun story to tell, a lesson about the color of clothes on dates, and about the nerve of others, and the certainty that, in the end, the most important thing is to laugh at yourself and move on, ready for the next adventure or misadventure that adult life has to offer. And, who knows, next time I might opt for a black dress, just in case. The experience taught me to be more cautious, but never to lose my good humor. After all, life is a comedy, and I am the protagonist of my own story, with or without a Bloody Mary. And that's the beauty of it all, turning chaos into laughter and disappointments into valuable lessons. And who knows, one day I'll find someone who doesn't spill drinks on me, or who, at least, pays for the dry cleaning. But until then, I continue collecting stories and learning to laugh at my own romantic disasters. It's the life of a single adult, full of ups and downs, but always with a good story to share. And this story, my friends, is proof that not every date is a fairy tale, but all of them can be a good joke in the future. And that, in itself, is a great lesson.